Start off with the 15 nations meeting there in Bangkok. I think that you've got a piece out saying that this is going to just show the impotence of ASEAN as they come up with no solution.
Well, ASEAN has a big litmus test here to handle this cross-border regional migrant crisis. This is a crisis that's been around for some time, and it has involved the trade in labor, in laborers, migrant labor. And so this is something ASEAN wants to address very quickly. Malaysia, I think, is gone ahead to organize something with Indonesia. So they will provide temporary shelter. With some peer pressure within ASEAN, I think ASEAN is taking some action. Malaysia does not want to forfeit, does not want to squander its chairmanship of ASEAN this year. Indonesia is the largest Muslim country in the world, so it's pitching in. So ASEAN, compared to a couple of weeks ago, is moving a little bit. It will not go all the way, but maybe it will go enough with international backing to mitigate this crisis. Rich, this is an intractable problem. It can only be mitigated, but perhaps mitigated well enough to be manageable.
Okay, and the stakes are very high here, are they not?
Stakes are very high. We're talking about thousands of people that have left their homes for better lives and livelihoods in Southeast Asia. They come from Bangladesh and Myanmar. Now, a lot of attention has been on Myanmar's Rakhine state, but there's some Bangladeshis mixed in here. So you're talking about areas that straddle South and Southeast Asia: Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia. These are the 5 key countries. And then the root causes, of course, is the persecution, the poverty in Myanmar's Rakhine state, but also in Bangladesh. So we need a regional solution here, ultimately, with international backing. No one country can do it, and all countries have to try to improve the sources of the problems. For Thailand, it's a transit country. It also has to bear in mind that, there's a humanitarian disaster here that could unfold. Malaysia, Indonesia, I think they are stepping up a little bit. They're the key countries. But ultimately, international backing for resettlement has to be offered. And then if we can find the different partners converging in the same position, we could mitigate this crisis enough to be manageable.
Well, apart from Bangladesh, I want to just concentrate on Myanmar for a second. Can't pressure be brought to bear on the government there to recognize the Rohingya as citizens?
The Myanmar's Rohingya problem is deep-seated. There's a deep hatred by the Buddhist majority against the Muslim minority Rohingya people. It combines different ethnicity lines, different religion. Also the geography. The Myanmar people think that these are Bengalis, these are from Bangladesh, and so they should go back to Bangladesh. So I think there has to be international persuasion rather than pressure that in the longer term, and also some peer pressure from ASEAN, that in the longer term it behooves the Myanmar government and Myanmar people to somehow handle and address the Rohingya question, because it's good for them, it's good for the Rohingya, it's also good for the region.
Doctor, what about Aung San Suu Kyi, of course? There's an election this year. Many people have criticized her for not speaking up.
You can see that, this is a universal sentiment within the majority Myanmar Buddhist community. Aung San Suu Kyi represents the opposition NLD. The Myanmar government, you look across the Myanmar segments, they're all against the Rohingya. They feel a certain dislike, deep-seated from history, from the past. It goes back to the colonial period. Somehow they felt subjugated by the British, and I think this is some kind of a superiority complex as well. And there are religious factors involved between Muslim and Buddhism. So, that she has remained silent, of course, for pragmatic reasons. This is an election year. She cannot alienate herself from the majority Buddhist population. At the same time, she is betraying her democratic credentials, her iconic image. And I think that in the coming days, she'll be under huge pressure to say something in defense of the human rights, the humanitarian disaster that could unfold.
Doctor, just very quickly, do you expect anything to come out of this summit taking place there in Bangkok?
This is a summit that is a step in the right direction. It's not going to provide an overnight solution, but these are the countries involved. They have to talk. They have to come to some kind of a common position with common interests. You can see that different countries have different agenda. The Thai government, they want to have international recognition because they've had a coup. This is a coup government. So this is a first major international outing for Thailand that could lead to some recognition, some acceptance if Thailand plays a constructive role. For Indonesia, as the largest Muslim country, it has a moral responsibility. Malaysia is a chair of ASEAN. It does not want to forfeit the chairmanship. The chairmanship also plays into the domestic game that they're having in Kuala Lumpur. Najib is under pressure from a lot of people are trying to undermine him. So he's trying to use ASEAN to show up his domestic standing. And then you have Bangladesh that I think needs to be focused a little bit more because they also have some responsibility. And then, of course, Myanmar. Yeah, ultimately, Myanmar needs some persuasion rather than pressure to try to handle the Rohingya question much better.